Hi everyone. I'm very glad to be able to at least address you remotely, though it said I'm not there with you, but I'm there with you with my mind and in my mind. We are gathering in a very difficult situation. It's much harder today to sustain democracy and to change the authoritarian regimes than it used to be because the borders are more open, so people who disagree with the dictators usually prefer fleeing their country and seeking political asylum than trying to fight and bring around the change within their countries, which allows the totalitarian regimes to crystallize. And this is why we should not allow any country to become totalitarian, because then it will be much harder to change the regime there than it used to be in the past due to this. It was what happened in Belarus, it's what is happening in Russia right now. However, I want to talk about some small actions that we can take and that I have taken to promote human rights, more specifically the rights of the disabled here in Georgia. And there were two campaigns, both of which were related to persons who are blind. The first one concerned the right to choose the white cane for the blind persons. According to the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, uh, we have the right to choose the assistive devices they need and we need. The white cane is one of the oldest assistive devices that blind persons use to get around, and it tells us if there are any steps that we need to be aware of ahead of us or any other barriers that we need to maybe step over or go around or whatever. And its size should depend on the person's height. If you are 2 meters tall or you are meter and a half tall, you should have different size cane. Um, the Ministry of Health of Georgia provides the white canes free of charge. However, there was no possibility to choose which ones we needed. We have been insisting on the right to choose for years since Georgia has passed ratified the convention. The Ombudsman's office had issued its recommendation, but the Ministry of Health would insist that they cannot initiate new tendering procedure, bidding procedure before the white canes they have purchased are not all given around. So before they run out of these canes. And finally, last year, right before the New Year's, when everybody was sort of relaxing and getting ready for the holiday, we saw that the Pro Assistive Device program was renewed. The Ministry of Health sent us this program and congratulating us, but we saw that there was still no selection component. And when I wrote to the Ministry of Health explaining that this is not how it should be and reminded the recommendation of the ombudsperson, the ministry staff wrote me that this program is written down based on the World Health Organization's recommendations, so it's in line with everything, and I saw that they are not going to change. And then I wrote about this publicly. Of course, it was not only me who wrote about this, it was also other blind people who wrote to the ministry and other experts and who expressed their concerns that they are not sensitive to our requests and to our opinions. And then, as I said, I wrote about it publicly on my Facebook, tagging journalists, opposition leaders, people who are working on transparency and budget monitoring, because I said that giving the same size canes to everybody is waste of money. And in a few days, they sent us back the renewed program, which already entailed the selection component. Now, we, the blind people, have choice, at least the right to choose the length of the cane that we'll use. Another one was about blind persons signing. Before, it was not allowed for the blind person to sign independently the documents without entrusting it to someone or without the notary public. Me personally, I was fighting for this law for at least 8 years since I have encountered the issue. Um, And only in 2020 the parliament initiated the law, some regulations, but these regulations, again, there were a lot of things where they were talking about illiterate blind persons. They they were making blind person's signature even harder. uh, Me and few other young people proposed recommendations which were not so much listened to. We were told that we were in the minority, that those who are criticizing we are in the minority and majority approves this law. However, this year, when the committee hearings resumed on this law, on this bill, essentially, uh, we involved opposition leaders and opposition members of parliament. And once we did this, the member of parliament who was championing this law uh, became more ready to compromise. For example, one thing we were demanding was that in the law, in the proposed bill, it said the blind persons are allowed to sign independently without entrusting to the others, unless otherwise specified by the law or the agreement of the contracting parties. And we said that contracting parties, because there is very low awareness on disability rights here in Georgia, another contracting party will always be afraid of the blind person and will say, no, we would prefer you to have somebody to sign on your behalf. Um, and this part was this condition, this unless otherwise specified by the contracting parties, was abolished. And now we have explicitly saying law that the blind persons are allowed to sign independently without entrusting to anyone else. I wish you good luck with your advocacies and hope that we will be able to scale up these little changes. Unfortunately, we have to take little steps, and a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Good luck to you all.